Welcome to another episode of The Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes, the storytelling show that features The Clearing, where all good questions come to get asked and all good stories come to be told. And where all my guests have two things in common. They're all creative individuals and all with an interesting story to tell. There are some lovely storytelling metaphors, a clearing, a tree, a juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, some alchemy, some gold, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, and a cake. So it's all to play for. So yes, welcome to The Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we shall begin. So welcome to a very special Bristol Voices episode of The Good Listening To Show, Stories of Distinction and Genius. This is a podcast and a radio show in which I invite movers, makers, shakers, mavericks, influencers, and also personal heroes into a clearing or serious happy place of my guests' choosing. Now, you are a wonderful qualifier for most of those little rabbit holes I've just described, mover, maker, shaker, maverick. You're very definitely maverick because we are sitting in a 727-100 series aeroplane doing a podcast on an aeroplane, please. So welcome to Pitch Air. You are the captain of Pitch Air because it's your plane. But what we must do is find out the story behind the story of why Johnny Palmer, tech lover, event producer, river swimmer, island owner, property investor, entrepreneurial investment in property. That didn't make sense. We can edit that off later. And you're also a renewable energy nerd. But all those things, why do you have an aeroplane strapped to pitch your event company in Brislington in Bristol?
How long have we got?
We've got 45 minutes.
Fine. So why or how?
Let's do either of those.
Okay, why? Because it was possible. It was there, and I had the space, and it was affordable. It costs less than people think.
Are you willing to tell us how much? What do we pay for it?
I can, not publicly, because the guy that sold it to me, lovely guy Mark, he said, Johnny, I can't have people knowing what you paid for it. What I can say, it was affordable, and most people's car probably costs more.
Wow.
Yeah. Because people look at it and they think it's all like really fancy and there's all this money, and it's like, no, not really. You know, this is not, the money's not the challenge. The engineering and the planning and the logistics was the challenge. It wasn't a financial stretch. It was a headspace stretch.
And just also to explain, we're sitting in, it's been credited with being the most extraordinary, eclectic, but probably the most expensive Airbnb in Bristol.
That's what they latch onto, and they want clickbait. In that interview, we talked about the sustainability, the inspiration to young engineers. We talked about the upcycling, the carbon reduction, but no, they latched on the two references to money, which was disappointing because it wasn't about that. There was much more going on. But hey ho, when you deal with these people that want their clicks, they'll grab the bits that get the likes, right?
And I first latched onto you through Bristol Life magazine, and I was really, really enamoured by the fact you said...
That was a nice piece, I thought.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And I have no agenda.
Someone thought I paid for that, I didn't.
I have no agenda. I'm going to bathe you in sunlight because I'm really impressed with the fact it's a plane.
Yeah.
So it was Bristol Life magazine, and I remember you saying that because you already are in an industrial unit here in Brislington in Bristol BS4, you realised you could actually just shove anything in the way and no one would assume it was an eyesore because everything in an industrial estate is an eyesore.
Yeah, when the standard's this low, if you do something here, you're doing well, right? But if it's a nice area, I'm not saying I think Brislington's a great area, but industrial estates, you know, inherently aren't. They're utility spaces. There's nothing aesthetic. So you do anything there and it's kind of an improvement, which is great, right?
Awesome, yes.
Yeah, that's how I see
it's
it.
Got some extraordinary graffiti on the outside. When it arrived to be Pitch Air, it was a white 727-100 series. Who's done the graffiti for you?
So that was Hassan Camel, the Hass, Harriet Wood, Hazard 1, and Curtis Hilton, who's just a legend. These guys are amazing. They're
I'd
amazing.
like to say I recognise all their tags, but I really don't.
You probably recognise their work. Like, they've all got their own groove. Lovely people, so cool. And it was great because they love, like, painting motorway bridges and stuff, right? Which they just do purely for the love of it. So if you can give these guys a commercial commission every now and again, it helps them do their thing, which makes our city what it is. So great, you know, it's win-win. We paid them and we got a beautiful aircraft, and hopefully they've got something quite nice for their portfolio and they can keep doing what they do, which is a proper win. I love that. It's great.
And on the timeline of when the plane arrived and when its last flight was, and just go back a step and tell us the story of
built 1968, Japan Airlines in a 3+3 configuration, like EasyJet or Ryanair, similar. And then 1981, it was converted into this thing, what it is now. And then a series of questionable owners had it, We know about one called Lars Magnussen, who recently got locked up for tax fraud, and then another guy called Mark Kruger, who had a questionable air freight company that moved around bananas in Western Africa.
Oh, bananas.
Just bananas, because it's worth flying a 747 and move bananas around, right?
Yeah.
It was his plane. Then someone didn't get paid.
That's a worse carbon footprint than kiwi fruit, I think.
Is it really?
Apparently.
Okay,
yes.
fine.
So,
Then all the paperwork went missing, and without the paperwork, you can't fly the aeroplane, apparently.
Yeah.
So although it was airworthy, they couldn't fly it. Then my mate Mark bought it, sold the engines, cut the wings off, moved it to Kemble, sat there for a while. He kept taking parts off it because that's what they do, and they call it parting out in aircraft speak, which is also known as scrapping, but they don't like being called scrappers. And then what's left is a fuselage, which actually has no real value. It's just quite literally scrap.
And when we first met, I was talking about a very iconic Robbie Williams film or video where he's standing on the wing of an airplane in a graveyard in, I think it's in the Nevada desert
I'd
somewhere,
love to
where
go there.
all planes
so
go
cool.
to die.
So cool.
Does anyone know where that is, that place?
Is it Arizona or Nevada?
Somewhere
It's somewhere very hot and dry.
Somewhere, lots of B-52 bombers are there. And
Was it?
Like where all airplanes go to die. But yeah.
I went to Kemble. I've got a couple up there, which is where this one come from. It was cool though, exploring old aeroplanes, going through the cargo holds, and there's secret crew quarters above the crew areas that people don't know about.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then what gave you the idea of, I know you said because you could, but what made you decide that I will do it?
For me, feelings come from I feel there's something here, then I explore. It's almost like a self-justification. So this is cool, I don't know why or what, but there's the thing, right? So then played with it, toyed with the idea. That was the thing I was obsessive about for 6 months, telling everyone. It's like, Johnny, can you shut up about this aeroplane, please? Until eventually I'm like, you know, what about containers? On top of containers, they're like, what? It's like, no, seriously, it works. So I get my CAD package, I start drawing, start visualizing, start throwing, sending these messages around, here's what I'm thinking. And eventually, slowly, after lots of trying different things, you get bits that work, and slowly the vision becomes real in your head. And then when the reality's in your head, the real world catches up afterwards, and then things happen.
Genius.
That's my process.
And bless you for that. It works, obviously.
Well, no, mostly doesn't, but sometimes it does.
So it's on containers. How many containers have we cabbed?
We're on top of 15 containers. The load's being carried by about 5 of them.
And it's an Airbnb, and if people want, post this
Can we
program.
talk about containers for a second?
Pardon?
Can we talk about containers for a second?
Certainly. Let's
Cool.
go. Tell me about containers.
I'll tell you something really interesting about containers.
Yeah.
You know shipping containers?
Yeah.
They're called the ISO container. Do you know how much load a shipping container can handle on top of it?
Do you want me to guess?
Have a guess, go on.
270 tons.
Close, 236 tons. Wow. It's mental. Wow. What an amazing piece of engineering. And this thing spread across 5. So when it's like, oh, it looks a bit dodgy, like, no, one container could take nearly 10 of these. And we're spread across 5.
Whoa.
So we're all good.
Yeah, do you want to say anything else about containers? That's good. You're
because we're talking about structures. It's not about it collapsing. It's about it blowing off.
This plane blowing off.
Because the plane's actually very, very light for how big it is, and guess what? It was designed to fly. So we had to strap it down with some massive chains.
Yeah.
So the biggest hazard was literally it flying off the side.
And it's got all the accoutrements in the cockpit. There is a proper captain's and the female version. So I'm assuming that people, you know, come to the Airbnb and they fulfil those mile-high.
Don't know what they get up to, but I think they're having a great time. Good on them, you know.
You three are having a sleepover tonight.
We are. Me and Simon and Jim here, yeah.
And you're invited as well.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah. So what they do on board, as long as they're consenting, good on you. Have a great time. Hope you enjoy it. Just don't stain anything.
And we've got a guest here called Helen this evening. a guest here called Helen who.
Oh, really?
Who isn't staying,
right.
But she we came out when we said there is a snake on the plane, and I found it.
Oh, there's snakes, sir, plural.
Yeah.
No, don't.
There's snakes, yeah. There's lots of things on the plane.
I found one in the top drawer.
Did you find the guns?
No.
Got in trouble for them.
Okay, guns as well.
Got guns. Have you found the AK and the Glock 9? You got them? Do you want to grab them?
I haven't got them. I don't know what they are.
Back cupboard on the right if you want to grab them, if anyone wants to grab the guns. Yeah? The guns okay, or do we get shut down on YouTube?
No, come on in.
In the cupboard where the tools are, right-hand side by the bulkhead door. Yeah.
Gosh, there's more dodgy stuff going on in the plane
There's
than
all
I
sorts of
thought.
stuff on this
I thought
plane.
the role play
There's
in the
all
Mile
sorts
High
of
Club was where I was going.
Yeah,
but,
we're going to keep it. This is mainstream though, so we won't go any further than that.
That's lovely.
Yeah, good.
Wonderful. So it's my great delight to be able to curate you through, which I haven't really talked about yet, what the journeyscape or the storyscape of the Good Listening To show is.
That's very pretty. I like how you've done that.
These are notes about you.
Good.
Very good.
Okay.
So I've got certain things that I prepared,
Okay, cool.
but things I've actually covered quite a lot of them already. So
Okay.
it's just to let your thinking unfold along the following structure.
Oh, would you like some whiskey?
Oh, hello,
Yeah.
Johnny. Do you have a whiskey
Oh,
brand?
I do. Look at this. Just sitting there. This is DB Cooper whiskey, available at DBN Wines in Clifton Village. The Clifton Club stock it, and soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, fishtails.
Of course.
Just if you'd like to buy some, yeah?
And DB Cooper, who was he, please?
DB Cooper, Full version or short version?
A medium version?
1971, Portland, Oregon. A guy goes up to the Southwest Airlines ticket counter and he asks for a...
Someone's just been handed a gun.
Oh, that's actually an air rifle. You don't want to... That's actually quite
At this
dangerous.
point, are you enjoying the podcast? Because you've got a gun.
Okay, hang on.
It's all good.
Let's just put that over there.
I got the wrong gun.
Did you get the Glock 9 as well, the handgun?
Yes.
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
There's two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I will.
If you want. I mean...
Sorry, back to DB Cooper.
Anyway, so this guy buys a ticket on a flight from Portland, Oregon. The plane takes off. The air hostess comes over. He orders a whiskey. Just saying. Hands her a note. And she's like, oh, he's going to try and flirt with me now. She hands him the whiskey. She walks to the front of the plane, opens a note, and it says, I've got a bomb. I want $200,000 and 4 parachutes. The plane then lands. All the passengers get off. The FBI give them the cash and the parachutes. True story. Plane takes off again. Cooper tells the crew to get locked in the cockpit. He goes to the back of the plane, opens the back door and the air stairs, and is never seen again. True story. All because of some whiskey. I heard the story and thought someone's got to have made a whiskey brand, and they hadn't. So I trademarked his name in the UK and the US for whiskey in hope that we get sued, because then we'll know who DB Cooper is. It's all a ruse. That's why there's only 700 bottles.
To the other 3 parachutes? He's gone out with 1. So
Well,
he left 3.
This is the thing. Notice I didn't say what happened. He was never seen again. They say he jumped, but he didn't. It was over a forest in the night in a storm. There's no chance he would have survived. And they never found him or the parachutes. I know what happened that night.
Okay.
He hid on the plane. And I know this because I know the 727 inside out, and I found where he would have hidden.
Ooh.
Yeah, true.
Sounds like there's a documentary in the making.
I think there
here.
should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the other things, as a side hustle you do, you've got a documentary covered.
Well, I made a little documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me get you onto the structure now of the Good Listening To show. There's going to be a clearing, a tree, a juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
There's going to be some alchemy, some gold, a couple of random squirrels,
Okay.
a bit of Shakespeare, a golden baton and a cake.
And you don't want any whiskey, no?
Later on I will.
Fine, okay, cool, right.
But thank you. Do you want to mention the whiskey one more
No,
time?
it's fine.
Really
That's what I was just offering. I was being a good host, you know.
You're a lovely host.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I got you some of this beer from those awesome guys that you were interviewing the other week. That's for you.
Thank you. Yes, the Bristol Beer Factory
Yeah.
was the last one. And interesting, I didn't get a bottle opener as well. But that'll... Are you going to do it with that?
No.
No.
Life hack. There you go.
Cheers to the life hack. Thank you. I'll just...
Yeah, cool.
So,
Well, I'll drink some whiskey. I'm listening.
so Johnny Palmer, Antipodean entrepreneur or entrepreneurial Antipodean, they're sort of reversible.
Either or.
What is a clearing for you? Where do you go to get clutter-free? And where's your serious happy place?
Whoa, 2 different questions there. So clearing, I like to run and swim. I need it. This week I've ran and swum 3 or 4 times in the last 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
I run, not very far, just, like less than 10K, nothing hardcore. And then a river swim, and that clears me a lot. And I need that nearly every morning at the moment.
Yes.
Which is great. Fitness, health, sometimes very social too.
Lovely. So you said there are 2 questions in there, but are we going to go, what's the second
Well,
part
that's
of
not happy place, because when you want to clear your head, it's often because you need to clear your head, which
Yeah.
suggests that maybe your head's not in the best place, right? As for happy place, I'd probably say, like, sitting here with people. I'm really looking forward to having, Jim and Simon hanging around tonight. We're going to cook some food, drink some margaritas, go in the
aforementioned.
sauna.
Yeah.
That's a happy place. Conversations go on for ages, relaxed. It's a very safe space in here. I love it here.
So the plane of itself could be the perfect serious happy place.
It could be, or with my kids or my wife here. That's fine. We do movie nights here sometimes, which is great. It's just like you lift the air stairs and you are literally in the sky because it's high up, and
Yeah.
the doors are locked, and it's just like a little hideaway. So yeah, I love it.
Wonderful. So we can either... I'm now going to arrive with a tree in your clearing.
A tree,
So we've got to
okay.
decide whether this is outdoors with you doing some outdoor swimming or whether it's on your plane and I'll arrive with a tree.
Okay, a metaphorical tree, or
Obviously, I'm not going to try and
okay.
shove a tree.
fine, no, an actual tree.
So a
okay.
metaphorical tree now, and we're going to shake your tree to see which storytelling apples fall out.
What does the tree represent? Sorry,
Pardon?
fruit.
It's a storytelling tree.
Okay, fine. Okay.
So there's going to be some apples that fall out of the tree. And it's a construct called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you've had 5 minutes, Johnny Palmer, Antipodean entrepreneur, to have thought about 4 things that have shaped you,
Yeah.
3 things that inspire you,
Okay.
2 things that never fail to grab your attention, and that, to borrow from the film Up, is where the random squirrel comes in.
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Right, yeah. Cool.
Exactly that. And then the 1 is a quirky or unusual
Lee.
fact about you that we
Yeah.
couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us. So it's not a memory test, but 4 things that have shaped you, first of all.
Shaped. Definitely moving country. Definitely having a brain that sees the world in a different way to others.
You were born in Tasmania.
Yeah. Born there, not of there though, I wouldn't say. What else shaped? I think just diversity of experiences, extremes of like really poor on a farm, then in my events and DJing career, going to some of the most incredibly opulent places, literally on the planet. Just that diversity of life experience has been quite amazing.
And your DJing career started when you were 12, as I researched about you.
I did start DJing. Yeah, I did. Yes, to answer the question.
No point denying it. I researched it, and it was true.
What else? And having kids as well. You know, things that are truly indisputably more important than you are, or I am. Having
How many
kids.
children?
I've got 2, Max and Wolf, great guys. They'd probably love to be here, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good fun.
Yes, and they come here for lots of sleepovers and film nights.
They do, yeah.
And do they do school squads as well, where you bring all their mates in as well?
Sometimes, yeah. One night Max came and he brought a few mates and we put a whole bottle of bubble bath in a jacuzzi. Ever done that?
Not the Cooper whiskey. A whole thing of
bottle of bubble bath.
Yeah.
In a jacuzzi because of the jets.
Yeah.
The bubbles, just mental, insane. That was a real highlight for him. He loved that. Yeah.
That sounds like everyone's perfect party.
It's good.
Some of that. Yeah. I'll make a point of it.
Make sure you get a hose for the clean-up though. It's really messy.
Yes, and the kids aren't going to do that. We know that.
Right.
Okay, so another shapeage now.
We did 4.
Okay. Pedantic. All right then. So now we're going to be on to 3 things that inspire you.
People who just like see things differently and disrupt the world. I like that a lot. People who like really see things around. I love seeing that kind of stuff.
Also, that's a favourite word of yours. I know all of your business endeavours are about 3 words: disruption, growth, and sustainability.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we called you a renewable energy geek earlier on. So that started early, but it's become a bit of a through line for you.
Yeah, definitely. Other things that inspire me, definitely nature. I'm no biologist, but I love looking at nature and the way things interact in nature and how much human society is reflected in and of nature fascinates me. You know, the beauty of nature alongside the tension and the fighting that goes on between different organisms, I find fascinating. And I get inspiration from that because it helps me understand the way humans are as well. It's really, really interesting to me.
So you've got a very polymathic sort of huge range of interest going on. So
maybe I don't avoid those kind of labels because I think when we give people's brains labels, we put them into a box and narrow what people are. And I think that everyone is a spectrum that overlaps in lots of different ways. And the second we say you are this, or you're on this spectrum, or you are this, or give a number or a name or a diagnosis, God forbid, I think it takes away the unique colour that makes people what they are.
And the extraordinary energy you have for all of these endeavours is one proper through line of currency that you have. There's a lot of energy going on here.
Sometimes. Not
when
always.
I first met you, I thought this guy's a bit like me. You're a bit like a washing machine on fast spin cycle. That's a compliment.
Possibly.
Like
okay.
that too.
All right.
I'm labelling you as a washing machine.
All right. Fine. That's all right. You can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Now we're on to another inspiration, if you like.
So nature, disruptive people. I find a lot of physics, like things flying. I find fascinating. Things that, while we can understand them academically, they're just mesmerizing. Like seeing a bird fly just blows my mind. Like I understand that, I get it, the pressure differentials and the flow in it, I get all that, but it just blows my mind. This is possible. So anything where I understand it academically, but it's still mesmerizing. That to me is beautiful. A sunset, I understand the physics of why it's red, I get it, but it still blows my mind that it's there.
And have you worked out why and how a bumblebee flies? Because that's the thing that.
Well, apparently no one knows this, and apparently a bumblebee can't fly, according to scientists, which is kind of funny, I think.
Yes. Now, wherever the squirrel went, we're on to the 2 random. Thank you for the return of the squirrel. So, what are your squirrels? Your
Sorry?
2. It's borrowed from the film Up, deliberately, where the dog, as you quite rightly articulated, goes squirrels.
Yeah.
So, what are your monsters of distraction? What never fail to stop you in your tracks? Johnny Palmer?
I love Wikipedia, that distracts me a lot. And I try to use Wikipedia more than social media, but that's a rabbit hole, so that distracts me.
Talking of rabbit holes, if we go down a rabbit hole, I've got a bell.
You know, a more negative
number 4,
one,
please.
I'm very, very, very sonically sensitive. Things
Sorry
like
about that.
No, that's fine. I'll elaborate. Speakers which are out of phase, that's where one driver is working in the opposite phase of the other. I find unbelievably agitating, like physically agitating, or anything that's suffering from mechanical distortion on speakers. Literally unbearable. It's like if I'm in a restaurant and the sound is one of those things amongst others, I literally cannot be in there.
Yes. You have to get up and leave, as in, I can't cope with it.
And like my wife and my friends who know me well are like, is the sound okay for you in here, John? Like, it's not, we need to move somewhere else, sorry.
So this is acute hearing you have?
I don't know what you call it, another label, but I don't know. I just respond to these things and they agitate me. Likewise, good sound, oh my God, it's good. You know, like a good sound system, like on a beach or I love warm air sound. It's just beautiful, I love that.
And in researching you at the age of 12, when your DJing career started, that made you fall in love with sound, music and parties. So the events through line And we're here, obviously, this is Pitch Airlines or Pitch Air because you're attached to Pitch.
Yeah, it's a bit of a PR stunt thing. Needed a name, made sense.
Yes. Well, if it's your
Nick's
company's
the
called
Studio
Pitch.
Canal logo. You know, I never said that. And then
The world exclusive. I've nicked
Yeah.
Canal Studios logo.
they've changed their logo though. I saw it on a film the other day actually. So
Okay.
we're all good now, I think. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. Inspired by, sorry, not nicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good squirrels. If I may commend you for your squirrels.
Cool, thank you.
And
Yeah.
now a quirky or unusual fact about you, Johnny Palmer.
Well, I
What's
thought about this one, and my wife won't like me saying this, but I sometimes mix up sinks with urinals.
Listen,
It took some reflection to figure that one out. Like sometimes there's a place in Bristol, Hamilton House, and I'm like, there was a sign that says this is not a urinal. I was like, I thought it was. Luckily I read the sign beforehand. Then I reflected on this, that maybe lots of sinks look like urinals, and I can cite a few instances in my life where I thought a thing was a urinal, and on reflection it wasn't.
excellent. And presumably never caught in the act of
No, never.
mistaking.
No, I
yes.
haven't. I thought that was maybe interesting and
That's the-
disgusting.
yes.
Or
Both of
maybe
those-
I'm not alone. Maybe now I've said that, everyone else will be like, I can share that. Maybe other
Yes.
people are like, yes, I have this too.
Set
I
the
also
world
piss
free.
in sinks sometimes.
Yes. Pissing in sinks is the new thing to do. It's the new hobby.
Is it? Okay.
We've shaken your tree. Hurrah. So
Cool.
that's the end of that section. Now we stay in your clearing.
Yep.
And now we're going to talk next about alchemy and gold.
Okay.
So when you're at purpose and in flow, what are you absolutely happiest doing in what you're here to reveal to the world?
I love seeing things physically get built, tangible things being built, like if that's like a plasterboard wall going up or containers being stacked or physical things emerging, becoming something new. And in recent years, that physical thing having permanence is joyous to me. Yeah,
Nice answer.
I
Very
love
good.
that. I love
Yeah.
seeing things being built.
And what are you most passionate about building now? You've got your plane. What's your current hobby?
Well, alongside, of course, the day I got married and the day I had my children, this plane coming here was the funnest day of my life. So, you know, we chase these dopamine hits, right? So I'm going to do that again.
And what year was that again? Just
2021, I think.
2021.
And so I'm doing that again. Got a great team of people. All the mistakes we made here, we've learnt from. We can do better next time. Got some wicked people involved, and it's basically
Oh, you're bringing in a second plane?
yeah.
To the same
There'll
lot.
be things that might try and stop me doing that, but I intend to.
Because I saw the video of the police trying to transport it and the
Yeah.
various glitches that happened and
Yeah.
how you had to overcome it. But it was a multi stakeholder.
This next one's another level. It's
so
nuts.
so world exclusive. What's the next plane?
Well, so the things that work, containers and aeroplanes, right?
Yeah.
I know them. I know what works and what doesn't. But it's like bigger, yeah? So one container is a bit easy. So I'm thinking 3 containers, and I'm thinking cantilevers, which where a structure sticks outside another one. And I love structures that have what I'd call a sort of perceived tension in the structure, where they look sort of unstable. I think there's a real like cuboid kind of like trippiness to that. And this structure I've designed, which I'm working with a really great structural engineer on, Andrew Barnard's amazing, really, really good guy. He did this one actually. We're making it so it looks inherently unstable. So when you walk past, you're like, Jesus, what is that? Yeah, that excites me a lot.
It sounds exciting.
And
What's the timeline as to when that may happen?
Well, we have to deal with Bristol City Council Planning Department.
No, you're already very popular in that regard.
No, they're all right. You know,
Yeah.
people criticise them, and they did get put under special measures. Sorry, local politics. But they got there in the end with this. So you know what? Respect to these guys. So I think, despite how people feel towards planning departments, they're actually all right. If you speak their language, engage, have a chat, find out what the concerns are, they're all right, actually. They're just a bit slow, that's all.
And what else is on your entrepreneurial radar at the moment?
Lots of things. There's always ongoing property stuff to deal with, deals which you mostly can't and don't talk about until and if they happen because it's not helpful.
Yeah.
Just last week I was thinking about a lot of people in Bristol, there's a lot of amazing artists and engineers and people who want to start business in new space. And I really want to convert a bunch of containers to make super cheap, maybe even sometimes free, workshops to help these young entrepreneurs do their thing. So the containers we're on top of now, I want to start emptying some out and converting them. I know it's a small thing, but I just know the value that young entrepreneurs can create. And if they're just given a bit of help, and it might be like, just have a workshop for free for a few months, the change that can make.
Yes. And there's a precedent set by cargo as well, isn't there? Because that's all based on containers.
Yeah, but their intent is very much commercial property development, which is totally fine. Respect to those guys, they've done good work. But their primary motive is probably money, yeah? And that is what's known as meanwhile use. Before they build the big thing, let's get containers in. Nothing wrong with that. But my intention here is like, try and be a place where small business can start up and fix big problems.
Yes.
Here's a thought, right? We want economic growth, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's our biggest employer in Bristol? Airbus, let's say. If they increase their workforce by 10%, that would be big news, right? Little companies with 1 employee get 2 employees, they've doubled their workforce. To go from 2 to 4, they've doubled again.
Yeah.
Growth is going to happen from small businesses. And a lot of those people, I think, don't feel supported. I'd like to do what I can to give them a bit of a nudge along, just at the early stages.
Fantastic.
So that excites me a lot.
Yes.
And I love these people. They're nutters. They're brilliant. Like, there's some really cool people out there doing great stuff.
Yes. And you're being an island owner as well. Just tell us the story about how you own an island and where is it?
It's the Whalley Weir's a swimming spot down near Bath, and I've swum there for a long time, and it was going to pot because of rubbish and issues. And I did a deal on some land, and I had a bit of, not much, a bit of cash, not a huge amount, a lot less than people think. And I thought I could try and fix this bit of land by making it available, and I realised that ownership matters. So I wrote to the farmer and said, can I buy this island? It's a river island.
Yeah.
And he thought I was nuts, like, you want that, really? Like, he probably would have given it to me had I asked. And we had a chat, and I bought it off him, and then made it just available for everyone to use. That's it, really, yeah.
And how do people get across to it?
Across the bridge, yeah. It's a river island, so it's got a tributary that goes around, and a mill stream, and a penstock, and then there's an island in the middle. It's beautiful.
And it's a nature reserve now, a plot of land you're conserving, is that right?
Yeah, so in technical speak, it's a freehold piece of agricultural land, which I think has village green status. It has a public footpath through it, and it's a floodplain. Despite what my lovely neighbours down in Claverton used to say and think, no, we're not building on it, we never can, we never will. It's a floodplain. So it's just...
No Morris dancers. If it's got village green status, will it have English Morris dancers on it?
Maybe that'd be cool. There's all sorts of other stuff going on there late at night.
Lots of bells jingling. That's good.
There's a sauna down there next weekend. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Bring on the bubble bath. And don't forget let's mention this again, the DB Cooper.
DB Cooper, yeah.
Come on.
In frame. Couldn't do that on the BBC. I tried, he wouldn't let me.
I don't care. You can get your guns out, advertise what you like.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to award you with a cake.
Okay, cool.
Hurrah. So next you get to put a cherry on the cake.
Okay.
So this is stuff like, first of all, do you like cake, Johnny Palmer?
Of course I like cake. Everyone likes cake.
So what cake do you want? Pardon me for bringing but
my wife, for my birthday, makes this cake. It's got weird, this sounds weird, but parsnip and coconut.
that's weird. but we
Magical.
like it.
Absolutely magical. It's got the sort of like starchiness of the parsnip and then the freshness of the coconut. It's actually amazing. That's my favourite cake.
Wow. No one's ever said in my circa 200 episodes parsnip and water cake.
I mean, huge amounts of butter and sugar, of course, as well.
Yeah. So what was the second ingredient? Parsnip and
Coconut.
Coconut. Love that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting
Seriously, it
parsnip,
works.
I'm getting coconut.
Yeah.
Lovely. Really good. So tragically, it's a metaphorical cake, but it sounds like you've got one for your birthday anyway.
Right.
So now you get to put a cherry on the cake with stuff like. What's a favourite inspirational quote, Johnny, that's always given you sucker and pulled you towards your future?
Okay, the first thing that came to my brain when you said that was actually, and it's not really inspiring, it's this idea of hard times make strong people make good times make weak people make hard times. It's really on the mind right now, and God, I think it's relevant at the moment.
And it's worth reincorporating that. Just say it again.
Hard times make strong people make good times make weak people make hard times.
That'll do beautifully. For
I don't know who said that originally, but I think it really resonates right now, and
Yes.
the way the world, I think, is splitting a lot. This is
Yeah.
very, very relevant at the moment. Big time.
Lovely. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I don't know, actually. Don't know. Can't answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going way back to either parental guidance or lack of, or you don't have to have one. I'm just letting you float it.
Oh, do you know, one thing that was once said to me is that all successful people, the only common trait, there's only one common trait, and that's they're hard workers. I've subsequently learned there's a bit more to it than that, but it's a pretty, yeah. But I think that was a very formative quote that
Yes.
informed the way I worked when I was in especially my 20s.
It resonates quite well with another entrepreneur I've spoken to, who his quote was, "There is no shortcut to success. Tomorrow we go again." So it's all about the work ethic and
Fundamentally, I think that's because that's the one thing that's lacking from most people that want to do things is that fundamental thing of do the work.
Yes. And was it, you mentioned you had a parsnip and coconut cake for your birthday. Has it been your birthday recently?
No, it was back in January.
Okay.
The cake was that good that I remember it from that long.
Very good. So all credit to your good lady wife there,
Yeah.
Lady Palmer, who
She's
does the
awesome,
special
really
cake.
good at cooking. Yeah.
And where's she from? You're from.
She's
obviously,
from
Tasmania.
Zimbabwe.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so we're both immigrants. Ooh, immigrants. Yeah.
And how did you meet?
Go back to where you came from. University. I was a DJ. She was partaking in one of my degenerate drinking games. That was my thing. Midweek. And yeah, we met. Yeah.
You're going to have a great sleepover, guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Great, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Helen's still got to go. Sorry. It's all good.
Okay, why do you give him the gun? Or is that not? I think he should have the
For
gun.
the next question, maybe it's sort of the gun question.
It's such a good gun, that one.
You're really attached
It's
to that.
bloody convincing.
I'm not giving it
I was shooting a real one in America a few weeks ago. It's like, that is convincing, that thing.
Yes, there we are. That sort of adds sort of extra grist to the next question. So, with the gift of hindsight, what notes, help or advice might you proffer to a younger version of yourself?
Oh, did a piece on this recently. Don't listen to advice. I've learnt one thing, and I might get shot for saying this. I think that most so-called advice, things presented as advice, is usually people's repackaging of their own self-limiting beliefs and negative experiences. Most of the time. Genuinely, I do.
Yes.
Because when someone gives real advice, because they actually want to help someone, it's not given as advice. When I do that, and I do it a lot, I don't say, here's advice. I ask questions, and I encourage them to come to a conclusion which they can come to themselves. I don't say, here's what you should do. Whenever someone starts with, here's what you should do, be very wary. That's what I'd say. Some of the so-called advice I was given from so-called professionals as well, especially around investment, was appalling. Luckily, I didn't listen to them.
So you deliberately swim, which is another entrepreneurial trait, to not go with the tribe and just do what everyone else is doing.
Well, here's the other thing, right? Have I got one here? I'm going to get a prop for this, actually. Okay.
Join in.
This is a good example, this one, if it's here. Hang on. Right. This is an SM58 microphone, okay? Right? There's a reason why they've been using these for decades in audio, because they're bloody good. So sometimes people do things a certain way for good reasons because it works, yeah? The problem is it's hard to know when it's done for a good reason because it works or because it's a bonehead convention.
Yeah.
So I've learned, it's like, don't do things differently for the sake of it. Try and understand why people do it that way. Unpack it. Is it good? Because it might be. The SM58, not a bad microphone. Still classic and actually quite cheap too. And then look for other times when maybe it does need to be disrupted and done completely differently. And it's very hard to figure out which is which.
Yes. Good answer. Very good. We're ramping up shortly to Shakespeare to talk about legacy.
Oh, sorry, a bit of a joke actually. Slightly ironic. That's actually a knockoff of an SM58. I wonder if the audio people are like, Johnny, that's not a 58. That's, what is that? A stage professional dynamic microphone.
Luckily, I didn't know the difference,
Okay,
but
fine.
I knew it was iconic. Because all of our
It looks
most
a bit like a Beta 58 actually.
all of our most iconic music memories have somebody holding that. type of
Exactly.
microphone.
Everyone knows a 58. You just
Yeah,
know what it's called. It looks like that, right?
Yeah, that is a microphone and everyone's first experience of a microphone.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Shakespeare in a minute and legacy, but just before we do that, this is something called Pass the Golden Baton, please. So now you've experienced this show from within, who would you most like to pass the golden baton along to in order to keep the golden thread of the storytelling going?
Okay, so the two people I admire massively in our region is George Ferguson, great man, yeah? Also Dale Vince, love his work. They're two really fantastic people.
And tell me a bit more about Dale Vince.
Dale's Ecotricity, he's a guy who's a bit of a hippie background, has done well economically, and just thrashes it in terms of like amazing business in all sorts of sectors. Just massively inspiring. Exactly the kind of entrepreneur we need more of, completely purpose-driven too. We need more people like him. We need to celebrate these people because Britain would be saved if it had more people like him in it. Genuinely, I mean that.
Yes.
And George is in the same category in my view too.
Yes.
You've interviewed George, right?
Not yet, but he's said
George is
yes
fantastic.
historically, so I'll go back to him with
Great
extra,
man.
extra
Again, a lot of what makes Bristol so good now is the work that he's done.
Yes.
And when people criticise, I'm like, I'll just piss off, you know? When you get off your arse and do even 1/10 of what George has done, maybe then you get the right to an opinion.
Yeah.
Until you do that, shut up and just be grateful for what he's done for the city. Yeah. Yeah.
So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to furnish me with a warm introduction to those individuals, and that is
fine.
the golden baton.
Yes, yeah, I think they might be up for that. Give it a
Excellent.
shot.
Okay, now, Shakespeare, all the world's a stage.
What? You know I grew up in Tasmania, right?
No.
You know it was illegal to be gay there. At the point I left in 98, it was a criminal offence to be gay. Tasmania, the only place on the planet with true genocide, only happened 150 years ago, and you expect me to know Shakespeare?
Well, luckily, you don't have to know much, apart from it being a reference point for the following.
We might be okay then.
There is a speech within it, which is borrowed from, it's Jake Quees in As You Like It, and it's all the world's a stage and all the barely players, and it talks about the 7 ages of man.
Okay.
And so this is about legacy now, and I use this prop, people, because this was the actual, it's not a first folio, but it's the Shakespeare text I got for myself when I went to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School. So it says on there, you can be Chris Grimes, 16986, please. So that's when I went to drama school. So it's an iconic prop for me. So pass you that,
Cool.
and we'll talk about legacy now.
Do you want me to read from this or something?
If you like. We're going to talk about legacy. So how, Johnny Palmer, when all is said and done, with all of your entrepreneurial energy and thrust, would you most like to be remembered?
I don't think it matters. Honestly, I take a very transient view of mortality. We'll all be dead soon, right? And beyond that, I just hope my kids are well, and that I live long enough that those around me are looked after, really, you know? I mean, delusions of, like, legacy, it's like, come on, really. I mean, except for, like, major inventors, how many people do you know from 150 years ago? Practically no one, really. Statistically, we're all really irrelevant. So, yeah, legacy, not really that bothered.
Good answer.
Yeah.
We like your fallback.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, we're going to open it up to a bit of Q&A if you'd like to ask some questions of the lovely Johnny Palmer soon.
Yeah.
But, so let's do that first, and then I'll ask you a final question at the end. So does anybody, and I'm not quite sure at this point whether this will pick up on the microphones or not, but maybe I can pass my lapel microphone around,
yeah.
if anybody has any questions. So having heard Johnny Palmer's story, would anyone like to ask any questions, please?
That means we must have absolutely fulfilled every possible question. Or it's just been really boring.
No, not at all. There's energy, isn't there? It's just, yeah, it won't come across on video, but the energy is awesome. Why the guns?
Yeah, good question. I'm holding it. Why the
on
gun?
earth?
Well, let's do this visually, shall we?
Because that's an incredible... I've never held a gun.
Do you think this looks
Yes.
right in here?
Right in here,
In this space? Is it an appropriate prop?
given the story
this.
you told about the banana, yeah.
Yeah. There's your
Yes.
answer. I think it works visually.
It does, yeah.
Like to not have an AK-47, even like
Wouldn't make
definitely
sense.
an AK-47 deficit
Yeah.
in this plane. Definitely.
Okay, so yeah, I would go home wondering why you didn't have a gun.
Exactly.
Yes.
See?
Yeah,
there you go.
okay, I get it. Okay, all good, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for clarifying.
Even does this as well, which
Does
sounds
anybody
really
else
neat.
have any questions?
Yeah, I know.
You could maybe ask what the hell's going on because you're here for a sleepover and you've got no idea.
I thought I was coming to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Same difference except for the mention of the whiskey.
Do you want some of this Ross's Hurrah Health Kombucha from Bath, Ross Austin? Would you like that, Simon?
Do you have any questions?
Bit more undue prominence there.
That's how I met you, ultimately.
Is it? Careful, it's a bit sort of fizzed up. Just careful. Yeah.
That'll be a no then, or are you thinking of one?
I can always find a question if you give me long enough. But
Okay.
but it's not good silence. It's not good for.
No, I
yeah,
don't
it's
mind.
good
We can-
silence. So if you get one more from someone else, and I'll think of one.
Oh, a question from Caitlin Wade. No, just speak into that normally.
This-
Just
what-
be a normal
do you remember
person.
what your first kind of entrepreneurial endeavour was?
Yeah, horseshit.
Question.
Horseshit, literally. Grew up on a farm, there was horses and there was shit, and they paid me to pick the horse shit up, and they didn't care where it went, so I managed to sell the horse shit. It's really good. Like $6 a bag, really good fertilizer. Proper double win. It's great.
That's a great
Horseshit.
question and a great
Then
answer.
pine cones, then walnuts.
Another question.
I got one for you, Johnny.
Go on.
They talk about being a leader, being an entrepreneur can be a lonely place.
Yeah.
When you are of a particular disposition, you said your brain works differently, which I've seen personally many times and agree. And you're a certain level, certain way of operating, certain energy. Does it ever get lonely for you? Can you ever find other people who think the same as you? Or, I know you don't encourage people to think the same as you, but do you find it difficult sometimes to get the connections that you would like, the conversations that you would like, the experiences that you would like?
Oh, a couple of things there. So first thing I found, like in my 20s, very, very lonely because I hadn't found my people, but more and more as I go through life, you find some seriously, or at least what I think are fascinating people, and they link you up with other fascinating people. So in latter years, it's been amazing meeting cool people. Yeah, so less so. Just got to find your people. Yeah.
So you're an outlier for probably half your life in that answer, and then you now, you know that expression, slightly cheesy, your vibe attracts your tribe. You're now looking for other people who are similar outliers, but able to then change by being outside.
I want to be around
looking
people who are smarter than me. I don't want to be around people that give me ideas, and people who are, So you slowly find the people who are right. And I think that applies to everyone, surely. I mean, you know, the people that are naturally, like my kids at school, they're stuck in this classroom full of 20 whatever other kids. They're good kids, but are they going to statistically likely to be around kids who really resonate? Probably not, right? Got to get out in the world and meet lots of people and slowly find your groove and what people are the best mix, the best resonance with you, and then and then get inspired. And that seems to happen a lot more now. I think, you know, if you're a bit sort of maybe a bit more out there, maybe it takes longer than for other people. Got some great friends now, great communities, amazing people. Also learning how to sort of interact with people on different sort of wavelengths and different perspectives. That's good. And I'm proud that I've got friends now who are completely different from me, but I really celebrate and love them for that. That's nice.
Lovely answer. Does anybody have any more questions?
You've mentioned you've got your kids. If
Yeah.
you were Education Secretary, what have you seen from their world that is not happening or that is happening that you would want to change to end up where you've ended up?
Okay, so I think we should start by acknowledging that our education system is probably the remnant of a Victorian era of standardization, measuring, and factory workers, which is not the world we live in. So I'd start with let's start with just deleting the whole lot, blank page, yeah? And start with some questions. What do people need in the world moving ahead? They need to be able to analyze and break down structures in terms of organizational structures. They need to be able to work collaboratively. They need to learn how to debate and challenge, have different opinions, learn from each other. They also do need some fundamental skills. And I've said to my kids, you've got to learn basic maths, basic physics. You really do. And I'd rebuild it from scratch. And the outcome would be much more disruptive, creative, and collaborative all at the same time. Much more open-minded, with a basis, a foundation of core skills you have to have, almost like non-negotiable.
Great answer too.
That's
Agree with that.
Yep, sure. So, any more for any more? Oh, yes.
Apparently you're a renewables geek. Yeah, what does that entail?
Renewables. So I always explain things with the origin. I've learned this recently to communicate better, rather than just come out with an answer, is try and explain the sort of steps in my thinking. I think that helps a lot with relationships and stuff. So I don't like utility companies because I think that our energy market is demented. It exploits people, it destroys businesses, it's inefficient, it's just messed up. So I start with that, a quite negative thing. I don't like utility companies and I don't like the national grid. And I really don't like the fact it's owned by foreigners. I really don't like that. So then I thought, how can I not be part of that dynamic? And I realized that we can make our own power quite easily and quite cheaply. And we can store it in these things called batteries, guess what? Which then got me more into renewables. So I've got a really big solar battery system next door.
When I first met you, you showed me this extraordinary stack
it's
of
big.
how you were monitoring your energy consumption, and you were very chuffed in that complete split second. Like, look, we're giving back to the grid, you said.
Well, our building next door just there produces more power than it uses.
Yeah.
And this is just some shed in an industrial estate in little old Bristol, and we're doing this. Yet we're told there's an energy crisis. There's not an energy crisis at all. We're making more power than we use.
Yes.
We are producing energy to the grid. There's not an energy crisis. That pisses me off.
Yeah,
and that's a quite negative, angry emotion. But I am using that and want to do more of it to try and solve the energy issues in this country.
And talking of utility companies, your wild swimming thing, there was a thing about you in The Guardian called In the Dock, but you were in the docks of Bristol.
Yeah,
but
they tried to throw us in the actual dock.
Yeah.
They were nasty to us.
And I suppose sewage being dispensed as well. And you're trying to wild swim, and then the utility companies are pumping loads of sewage in.
Who knew? You're swimming in the river. Then you hear this thing called a CSO. You heard of a CSO?
No,
Combined sewage overflow.
I knew that.
Seriously, really? Is this a thing? This is back way before it was a major thing.
Yeah.
And I went to the water companies like, is this real? And they're like, yeah, it is, and we're allowed to do it. I thought, this is disgraceful.
Yeah.
You're literally pumping sewage in our rivers. You know, we swim in these. My kids swim in this.
Yeah.
You know, and I would, when I go camping, would naturally drink from this. And you're pumping sewage in, and then I look at their accounts, and you made £234 million profit, and you're pumping sewers in our river. I got angry. What's this about? You know.
And I've just remembered another question I'd love to ask you about. You've got a geodesic dome.
Yeah,
And
the domes.
Do we all know what that means? No. So can you please explain some geodesic domes, please?
Cool. A geodesic dome is a structure. You could picture it in your head. It's like a dome with like triangles and stuff, designed by a guy called Buckminster Fuller.
Buckminster Fuller.
Such a cool name. Total nutter. Would have loved to have met him. He's dead now, sadly.
I was going to interview him a moment ago, but he's dead now. It's too late.
Really, you missed out. Okay, fine. So accommodation business. Me and my friend Dan Kenny, one of my best mates, we set this up during COVID. Got 6 domes down in Kent. They're really nice accommodation. We're trying to we're sitting down by the river camping with our kids, and we wanted to think, how can we make this feeling, the fire, the river, the nature, how can we make that available to people who are normally used to hotels? So I don't call it glamping. It's trying to get the best of both. And we've analysed what makes camping so good and what makes a 5-star hotel so good, and try to put the two together.
Yeah.
The answer is actually pretty simple. And we've done it pretty well. We're hitting 85% occupancy, which in the accommodation business is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's good. It feeds itself financially too, which is good.
And how are you doing with occupancy in where we're sat in the aeroplane? Or
Pretty busy.
Yeah.
And the last 2 weeks, there's only been 1 night spare. I had to block tonight to make this be available to us.
I remember that because we lost 2 other nights before
We did.
tonight. So
Yeah,
this was
people
the
book it a
3rd
lot.
booking.
Yeah.
I love the rule of 3. It was completely cool that we got the 3rd one,
Yeah.
which was great.
Yeah.
Where can we find out all about you, Johnny Palmer, and everything you're up to on the internet for our listeners?
I sometimes post things on LinkedIn, you know, just when I want to, you know, just broadcast some, you know, self-gratifying promotion on a wholesale scale. Not so much these days, though.
So just have.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia or Crime Watch, and there's
Yeah,
Johnny
right.
Palmer.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the wanted poster stuck on a lamppost. Yeah.
And obviously, Pitches your events company, which
Yeah.
is what the aeroplane here in Brislington in Bristol is sitting on the containers next to. Next plane, as we've already discovered, is coming soon.
Maybe.
Maybe.
There's some ideas there. One of the ideas actually is that maybe we can time it so it does it around festival season. It can take a few detours via some festival sites. That'd be mental.
Yes.
Logistically, that'd be cool. Like, imagine that. Just this every week, this aeroplane's moving between festival sites.
Yeah.
I'd love that. That'd be so cool.
And when this first got parked here as a sort of white aeroplane 727-100 series, did you immediately know, I want to graffiti this, or did people just turn up and ask you if they could do it?
No, it sort of evolved slowly, and I spoke to a bunch of people, and then just like waited for the right kind of groove, and then met Curtis and Hassan and Harry were wicked. They're really cool.
Yeah.
And my wife loves Curtis Hilton's work. He's amazing. Check his stuff out. He's incredible. And they're up for it. So I was like, wicked, let's do this.
Yeah.
But they kind of evolve, you know. You think, okay, aeroplane and container, that works. Then the planes, they're like, looks a bit scuzzy though, doesn't it? I need to paint it. Then you're like, now the plane looks cool. Now the containers look crap. So then the containers got painted as clouds.
Yeah.
And then now something else
clever.
looks a bit rubbish. So then it's like you see the worst thing, and then as things get better, the worst thing becomes more specific, and then it evolves. That's how it
is a
works.
lovely plot to creep up on. I came here first ever on my push bike, and was amazed at how long it took up the Warren Roads into the estate.
I love Brislington. It's a really nice
Great.
part of town. The
But then-
river's 10 minutes down the road too.
But then when you come around the corner, whoa, there's a plane.
Yeah.
It is very, very iconic.
I do like things like that when I was like, and they're just like, what is that? And we put a sign up explaining the story of it and
And
stuff.
Helen, your reaction was lovely today when you walked around the corner going, oh,
Wow.
and then we put her off saying, well, there is a snake on the plane, and then you nearly shit yourself. Anyway, so that's good. So final question now, Johnny. As this has been your moment in the sunshine, in the Good Listening To show, Stories of Distinction and Genius, this is a Best of Bristol Voices series strand, but is there anything else you'd like to say?
You know what's on the mind right now a lot is the power of business to solve the problems in society. I went to some, like, what was it? Danny someone, some professor of inequality, Marxist conference thing the other night at the Architect, right? Lovely guy.
That's a great conference title.
Yeah. And it just seems to me that right now in the world, all the problems we have are based around two things. One is bad men, that's another issue. And the other one is people need more resources and money. I listen to Radio 4. Everything fundamentally be distilled down to lack of resources. And I look at this and I think resources are going to be created in society by good, honest businesses growing. And I think Britain as a culture doesn't focus on that a lot. They demonize entrepreneurs a lot and don't realize the value that we have in society. And I think Britain needs to change that bloody fast because we don't have time.
Yeah.
Councils are going bankrupt. So the welfare state, social housing, when they're going bankrupt, they can't deliver on this stuff. And they can change taxes all they like, but it's marginal. We need more growth. We need more entrepreneurship. We need more money coming into our country. And that's on my mind a lot right now.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, also thank you to our live audience that have been here for a Best of Bristol Voices live round of applause. And Ollie, our photographer, is here. I've never given him an overt mention. He's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Helen is also from EC Circle, Entrepreneurs Circle, and she's a very, very extraordinary, wonderful energy and tour de force. I congratulate her. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. And if you've been listening, obviously, on the old interweb, if you want to look at the website, it's thegoodlisteningtoshow.com, and there are 7 different series strands as to how you too can get involved in the show. So thank you very much indeed for being here. Anything else you'd like to finally say, Johnny?
No, we've talked enough, I reckon.
It's time for the sleepover, gentlemen. Let's get the jacuzzi
Mexican
going.
food.
Thank you very much
Wait.
indeed,
Yeah,
and good night.
Thank you. Thanks.